Welcome to this edition of Arizona Barrio Stories. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for supporting us. We love your posts, we love your pictures, we love your comments. We read each one of them. Thank you for being a part of us and making this site grow. Today we have a special guest. Many times we sit at the feet of those that have built things for us. We sometimes forget who they are, but I want to remind you, there's many out there that have paved the way for us. And today, our guest is going to talk about paving the way. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lydia Guzman. Thank you so much for having me. I'm with Chicanos Por La Causa. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Civic Engagement.
Would you start off by telling us, where did you grow up? What were your roots that brought you here?
Well, I was born and raised in Glendale, California. And, Glendale is a community between Burbank and Pasadena, for those that are familiar. And, it was a great childhood. And, I did some moving around. I moved around into the Pomona area. And then that's where I started my activism. And also then, as a married person, as a young married person, to what they call the high desert in the Palmdale, Lancaster area before then, and I just moved here. I just moved here right after that.
Now, when you think of California and Arizona, would you say they're very much alike or very different when it comes to culture, traditions, and things that have led you to CPLC?
So both alike and different, and here's what I mean. So I chose to live in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area, because they're so alike, the people, the foods, the traditions. When you have not only Chicanos and Mexican American, you also have a lot of the same similar histories in the past. When you have folks that were sharing stories of not being able to speak English while they were in school, the same thing happened in California. You also had the stories of kids that the Latinos were not able to swim in the public pools until Fridays, which is the day when they drain the pools so that they can, and so a lot of those stories are shared. And so I felt that this was a place very similar that I can have that shared experience. Now, in a way, it is different, and it's very much, now, but it was less obvious when I moved here. When I moved here, it was just right after Prop 187 in California. We had just come out of extremism. There was a conservative governor who was anti-immigrant, Pete Wilson, who was doing everything he possibly could to start that political rhetoric against not only immigrants, but against Latinos. And so, that also kind of put the little fire in me. And so we did a lot of activism. And so when I came to Arizona, dije, pues, I'm going to retire. I mean, after fighting that whole fight after Prop 187, we, processed a lot of people for citizenship. And we thought, pues, ya la hicimos. But, here I am.
So then when you got here, did you think, oh no, not again?
So it's funny though, because one of the things that really drives me to activism is, and I think anybody who is involved in the world of advocacy and activism, is the need to see and be involved in change. And in order to do that, besides, going out there and doing protest, with the signs, and you also have to be involved at the table and then at the ballot box. Okay, so in California, I did a lot of voter registration. I made sure that we did a lot of get out the vote efforts. So when I came to Arizona, one of the first jobs that I had here was working for the Secretary of State as a director of voter outreach. And the Secretary of State just gave me free rein, and I was doing a lot of not only learning a lot about Arizona, but meeting a lot of great folks. And I could, easily see all of the stuff that Arizona went through and what we needed to do to have a stronger, more successful community.
So once you got here, you're the new kid on the block. Who are some people that you met that were instrumental in helping you?
I came here in about 99, and I enrolled in a MALDEF leadership class. And one of the speakers for that class was a very fiery attorney who I immediately gravitated to because of his energy. And he gave a presentation called Coraje, and his name is Danny Ortega. And
Sounds familiar.
I'll tell you what, he gives this presentation, and he continues to give this, and he just puts that fire in you, because what he does is he gives you hope, and he says we all need to be part of this change, and we all need to be agents of that change. And so he really inspired me, and to this day I look to him for guidance and for leadership.
Now, with your linking with him, was he able to hook you up with other organizations, or did you stay working at the governor's office? Or take me on your journey. What happened next?
Sure. So I worked for the Secretary of State, and with any Secretary of State, that administration changes, and so I was part of a different administration. And then I started working for the Attorney General's office, and I worked for Terry Goddard then, who was also very, he gave me free rein to do a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about, protecting and advocating for vulnerable folks, which actually I think opened the door to a lot of my work with, I did a lot of work with still elections, campaign finance reform. I did some work with, I worked with the Clean Elections Institute and the Clean Elections Action Fund, and just talking about how politics plays a really big role. But then at some point, as the legislature in Arizona started introducing more and more anti-immigrant legislation, people started going into power, becoming anti-immigrant. And so we felt this attack, and we started building coalitions with other groups, faith groups, student groups, and we actually formed an organization of several organizations. This was a coalition, and we call this coalition Somos America. Okay. Now, Somos America started because there was a national bill that looked very similar to what was SB 1070, but this was a national bill that was introduced by a gentleman named Sensenbrenner, and it did all of those horrible things that SB 1070 wanted to do. And we formed this coalition. We had marches not only in Phoenix. We had marches in Dallas and Los Angeles and all the major cities, Chicago, you name it. And this is where I was meeting with several other key leaders: Alfredo Gutierrez, Danny Ortega, Roberto Reveles. I mean, people from faith, student groups, faith groups, labor groups, and all of the other pro-immigrant groups, civil rights groups, even environmental groups. They were all standing with us saying, marchamos. And so we did this major march in 2005, and our theme was simple: today we march, tomorrow we vote. And it was powerful. I'll tell you what, it was powerful.
When you think back to what you said earlier, I came here to retire. So much for retirement. Mm-hmm. Your drive, like you said, Danny lit a fire. What has kept you going today? And tell me how you ended up with CPLC.
So during the slew of anti-immigrant bills, there was one particular bill that was called LAWA, the Legal Arizona Workers Act. And LAWA was what we all know as the E-Verify bill. And what it did is punish businesses for hiring someone if they knowingly knew that they were undocumented, and it was like a death sentence for businesses. And so a bunch of business leaders got together and they said, we need to start a hotline, because besides hurting businesses, it's going to hurt workers who are going to be wrongfully denied the right to work. So we need to build a hotline. Who can run this hotline? And they recruited me, right? And so here I am. They called me in and they said, we need you to help run this hotline. But as the wave of anti-immigrant pieces were coming out, so was there was this political sentiment that if you were anti-immigrant, then that's what they thought was winning elections. And at that point, there was a sheriff named Joe Arpaio who was doing the same thing. And then he started doing immigration raids in the community. So this hotline, rather than collecting information from folks who were wrongfully denied the right to work, started collecting information, and we started seeing a pattern of people that were being racially profiled. And so as a result of that, and through a couple of years of work and collecting information, we gathered enough information to file a lawsuit, which is known as the Melendres lawsuit. And our organization back then, the Somos America, became the key plaintiff. We were the named plaintiff in this lawsuit to sue Joe Arpaio for racial profiling. So it was an amazing journey, but it was a great journey with all of these new friends that we suddenly had. And Danny Ortega was right there with us throughout the whole process.
And today, we bring you to 2022. What are you doing today?
So I am now working for Chicanos Por La Causa. It's interesting because I've always admired the work of Chicanos Por La Causa, having been here and seeing just some of the work they do, meeting some of the staff, and knowing that a lot of the history, the way that Chicanos Por La Causa was started with their advocacy and activism and social justice, their drive for social justice, I always knew that was a destination place, that I wanted to work there. Because you have these places where that's your destination job. That was my destination job. Algún día, one day, I'm going to be working for Chicanos Por La Causa, and I'm so glad that that day is here. Now, what I'm doing for Chicanos Por La Causa is I'm the Director of Advocacy and Civic Engagement. And when we talk about, our mission statement is we drive political and economic empowerment. That also means participating in all of the civic engagement activities. Everything from voter registration to participating in the census, because that also empowers our community. It brings funding to our community. And also when we have a voice at the ballot box, that also empowers our community, and it brings attention to our community, and it brings attention especially to those leaders who in the past would ignore us.
Well, like you said a while ago, today we march, tomorrow we vote.
Yes, ma'am.
When you think of people that have really given you consejos, can you think of somebody that has given you a message that you would like to leave us with?
Yes. So, there's a couple of things that I want to say is, I know that we have found ways to find justice through the court systems, and sometimes the community gets frustrated, in participating. I always say to folks, participate, engage, whether it's the Department of Justice asking for information, participate. Now, Danny Ortega once said that the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they turn. And this is very true when it comes to, like, for example, this lawsuit. The Melendres lawsuit was 10 years in the making, and people lost hope. But at the end of the day, ganamos.
Don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope.
I want to thank you for being a part of our program today, and I'm hoping you'll come and visit us again, because I bet you we could talk more and more about things that have driven you and why you still stay. And thank you for not retiring.
Oh no, thank you for having me.
Unless you consider this a part of retirement. But thank you for being a part of CPLC. And sometimes people do lose hope. I want to remind you, thank you for giving us that hope. And thank you for being a part of Arizona Barrio Stories. There's many stories out there, and I'm glad the stories from California and Arizona were very much alike. We have a lot of viewers from California, and maybe they'll tell their story too. But thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Irma. I want you to tell us your story. Tell us your hopes, your dreams. Tell us what it is that drives you. We are looking for more stories. We sit on the feet of many, or I guess we could say on the shoulders of many that have paved the way. We can't forget them. They have done big things for us. Thank you for being a part of Arizona Barrio Stories, and we will see you soon.
Hello, my name is David Adame, President and CEO of Chicanos Por La Causa. Today, I would like to announce our brand new exciting partnership with Arizona Barrio Stories. Arizona Barrio Stories is a key part of our community and in line with what we believe in, restoring Chicano history. and making sure that we continue to celebrate Mexican traditions, history, family, and culture. Arizona Barrio Stories will play an important role in bringing you important stories about Chicanos Por La Causa and the founders who helped build Chicanos Por La Causa, but also other key important stories about our Chicano community here in Arizona. We look forward to a wonderful partnership and thank you for your continued support.